Hi guys, welcome to another Gold Lap guide. This time we take on Mount Panorama with the new Genesis X GR3 in the latest online lap time challenge. I've currently got a gold time, so I'll show you what I did to achieve that. Now this is another new car for me, but a surprisingly good one. Just need to be careful on that throttle though. Yeah, this circuit is all action and it's so easy to bleed time out around here, so stick around to the end. I'm sure you'll pick up a few helpful tips. And we go straight into the lap guide. Turn 1. Around the 70 to 80 metre mark, so just after this 100 marker on the right hand side, I'm going to break down to second gear. And our aim for this one is to try and maximise this exit. So hard on the brakes, down to second gear, trail the brakes in nicely, make sure you get to the apex, get on the throttle as early as you possibly can, use all the circuit on the right hand side, and away we go. And we can rev this car out all the way, no problem. This is the first shameless plug of the video. We're approaching 1,000 subscribers. We'd love to get there by the end of February. If you're not already subscribed, then please do subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. Next, braking points. Just after the 100 marker, there's a little bit of a strip of tarmac on the left-hand side, about 65 to 70 metres away from the corner. Somewhere around at that point, I'm going to brake down to third gear. So we'll be hard on the brakes just for a brief moment, down to third gear. It's a quick trail off of the brakes. You can take a bit more speed through here because it's an uphill corner. Don't get too caught on the inside, it'll be easy to spin the car. Get on the throttle as early as you can and balance that wheel spin. Use all the circuit on the left hand side, get close to the barrier and away we go. Now this next bit, this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky. So keep the car to the right hand side. Where this arrow is on this corner here, I'm actually, just before that, I'm going to come off the throttle completely and start applying the brakes. Now you can't apply full brakes because you'll spin the car, but I'll give you an idea of what I do with the braking here. Just watch the braking bar closely. So slow it right down, come into the corner, I'm off the throttle just before it, start to brake 50%-ish, down to second gear, between 50 and 75%, just dabbling the brake, down to first gear, get the car turned in nice, up to second, start applying the throttle. Don't go full power, you will spin the car. 75-80% throttle is just enough. I get a bit of a wiggle on, you can see there, and away we go. You might need a slight lift through this corner, try not to take too much curb because you might spin the car again. Next point of interest, little tree on the left hand side. I say little, it's quite a big tree. And somewhere around that point, that's my turning point. I'm going to try and take this corner flat if possible in fourth gear. Not easy to do, you've got to thread the eye of a needle through here. However, if you can carry some extra speed through this section, you'll make so much more time. So I'm going to slow this down and show you what I mean. Now I don't quite do this flat, I do a tiny little lift, but I'm in fourth gear. You've got to get so close to these walls. This is where the time is really made up. I'm going to show you from behind the car. Look how close you can get to these walls. This is on the entry. Oh, and the space of a fag paper there. So close. Close on that side as well. You've got to do it to get the time. You really push it. This next section, there's a little bit of a dip on the right hand side, just roughly where that arrow is there. You want to try and get your right hand tyres over into that without touching the barrier. It's a bit tricky, but it's worth it because what it'll do, it'll set up the next little section. So you go through here, the car dips a little bit, it starts to turn, get the full 90-degree lock on there, take a bit of curb, get close to this barrier as well. I'll show you going from behind the car. Look how close you've got to get to these barriers to be able to make this time and carry this speed through. Look at this one as well. Oof, that's close as well. Into this next bit. Around the start of this curve, or just after the start of this curve, I'm going to completely come off the throttle. I'm going to stay in fifth gear, off the throttle, and just try and get the car pointed into this next corner. It's downhill as well, slightly tricky, a bit bumpy as well. Off the throttle there. As soon as you think you've made it, back on the throttle again. Get a bit closer to the curb, the wall than I do, if you can, and into the downhill section. Now, braking for this one, this is really, really tricky. Where this Audi R8 banner is, I like to use this as a braking marker, or just before it. And we're going to just brake down into second gear eventually. Now, you've got to be careful, you can't just slam the brakes on full here because you will spin the car. Now, there's many ways to do this, but I'll show you the way I do it. It's probably the easiest way. Be careful not to 100% brake and turn at the same time. You're downhill and there's less traction, so be really careful because you will spin the car and end up in a barrier. So, I'll slow this one right down. So, 50-60% brake, no more than that. Get as close to these barriers as you can again, down to fourth gear. When you're in a straight line, you can brake harder. When you're turning, brake less. Ultimately, you want to try and get it slowed down. 100% braking in a straight line there, down to second gear. And just trailing the brakes in here. Get as close to that barrier on the right hand side as you can without touching it. Same again for the left hand side. It dips a little bit here. Be careful on the throttle. Don't get too greedy on the throttle. up to third gear. Now you can start planting the throttle down quite aggressively once you've got the car settled, and away we go into this next bit. And again, this is crucial for a good time. So around this next bit, off the throttle completely just before this corner, I'm going to brake down to first gear. Hard on the brakes in a straight line. Again, you're going downhill, so your braking efficiency is compromised a little bit. Down to first gear. I like to get as close to this Falcon barrier as I can. I almost touch it, just about get away with it. Back to second gear again. Start getting that throttle down as early as you can. Use all that circuit on the right hand side. And away we go for the best exit. I'll show you from behind the car how close you can get to these barriers. Watch how close this is. Close there. Probably get a bit closer. Getting a bit closer there. But you get the idea. To be able to carry the speed through these corners, you've got to get close to these barriers. You've got to really push it. Even if it takes you 20 goes, you've just got to keep doing it. Close there again. And into the Falcon turn, you can see how close we can get to the barriers. I get a bit too close too early there. Take slightly too early in apex. It does affect me exit a little bit. Look how close we are to that barrier on the outside. Can't believe how close that is. And also, guys, as always, if you get any value out of this video at all, then please do hit the like button and consider subscribing for more content like this. We're approaching 1,000 subscribers, and I massively appreciate the support. Thank you so much. Into this last little section now. This is make or break. Breaking point for this one, somewhere around where this sign event sign is on the right hand side, about 120-125 metres towards where the S part of that sign event is. I found that to be a really good braking marker. And we're actually going to go down to second gear here. So hard on the brakes in a straight line, down to second gear. As soon as I get the car turned into the apex, back to third again, take plenty of curb, hard on the accelerator, take a bit of curb there, not too much because you'll spin the car. Use all the circuit on the left hand side, really push these track limits as best you can round here. You're coming to the last corner now, last braking point, big tree on the right hand side, about 75 metres from the corner. I'm going to brake down to first gear, and we're braking hard in a straight line to make sure we maximise the longitudinal grip of this car. So hard on the brakes, down to second, down to first, get to the apex, back to second again, back on the throttle. Don't go full power until you're comfortable, manage that wheel spin. We're going to go across the line for a 2 minutes 00.225, which is good enough for 1.72%, and at time of recording 50th in the world. If you're still struggling with the goal time for our top list from last week, then click this video guide right here. This might help. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Take care. I'll see you next time. Cheers.